Is it recording?
Yes, we're recording.
Hello and welcome to Not a Safe Space podcast. I'm your host, Sabrina.
Oh, and Tabby.
And that's our other host, Tabby. We are a podcast about everything and nothing, an open conversation between two old friends with zero filters and plenty of humor. We came up with this idea just because we find ourselves funny. And every time we talk about something, we say, hey, this should be a fucking podcast.
Yes.
So here we are with the encouragement of Tabby's wonderful husband, Dion, saying you two should do this. So here we are, and welcome to our first episode. How are you doing, Tabby?
I am doing great. How are you, Sabrina?
I'm doing well. We just had a little talk before we started this about the fact that we are issuing our first audio podcast, but we both did our makeup beforehand.
Yes. And I set up the screen. I looked at the camera. I was like, oh, I'm too freaking flushed out. Let's go ahead and add some makeup and some highlight. And nobody's going to see my face, but except for me. But that matters.
It does matter because even where Nate set up the podcast for me today, I wondered I wonder what the lighting looks like in that room.
Right.
Isn't that so funny?
It is. And I even I adjusted the laptop, and then I put the microphone on books, and I got this whole setup. I had to make sure the background was right.
I didn't even think about that. How funny would it be if you had some weird dildo sticking out of a shelf?
Oh my gosh. That would be...
Imagine years from now if we ever sell these videos and we're like, oh God, the dildo collection was in the back the whole time.
Oh no, that'd be awesome, actually.
It actually would be pretty funny, I think. Pretty funny. How's your week going so far? Today's Thursday. We're looking to drop this episode hopefully in the beginning of the week, but we are recording on a Thursday. So how's Monday through Thursday been for you so far?
Pretty good. We've had lots of rain. I'm tired of the rain. I'd like to go outside in my yard. That would be awesome.
Yeah, how's the animals doing? Or how are they?
Oh, so Lucky, our little baby bull that we rescued, is deciding to, just escape from the pasture and just wander around. He just goes wherever the hell he likes. He's just like, hey, what's up? And then when we come out there, he's like, okay, fine, I'll go back in. But, the other day we caught him. We found him in the barn eating the grain. He was just like, nom, 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 nom. This is so good.
So he had gotten out of the field, gone into the barn, and was just helping himself to the chips.
Yes.
Or the grain. So basically he's Lorelei.
Yes. He was like, oh my God, this is so good. I was like, I want to be out here all the time.
Now, how do you know? So for our listeners, Tabby lives on a farm, and we're both from Florida. I live on the coast, and your area is considered central, right?
Right, central North Florida.
Yeah, so, but she lives on a property with 12 acres?
Yeah, about 11 acres.
11 acres, and then how many animals do you guys have going on over there?
So right now I've got 3 cows, the little baby bull, Lucky. I've got a donkey who literally is an ass.
Right.
Straight up. Donkita is an ass. That's it. And then we've got chickens, and we got ducks, and we have a pig, and the pig's name is Buttercup. And
the pig is the best.
She's hilarious. She gets the baby Lucky into so much trouble. She's like, hey, look at this. Come on out. Let's go run around.
Right. So where was the pig during Lucky's great escape into the barn? Was she anywhere near?
No, not this time. She wasn't anywhere nearby.
That's funny because normally when we see Lucky get out, or at least me when I've been there, she's always following behind that troublemaker pig. Pig leads them all to trouble all the time.
She does. She is a troublemaker. There was one time Lucky got out, and Pam, my mother-in-law who lives with us, was putting the cow back into the pasture, and the pig literally got a hold of her pant legs and was like, no.
Yanking her away. So I've always wondered this and thought about this with my own dogs and cats. Do you think that the cow and the pig can talk to each other?
Oh my gosh, they definitely have some form of crazy communication going on because I think they plan it.
Right. Because so this weekend, guys, we spent my family, Nate and I have 2 children, spent the weekend at the farm at Dion and Tabby's house. It's kind of like our favorite place to get away to. It's
Dabby P Farms.
Yes, we're outside of contact from everybody. It's just a like I like normally don't even wear shoes for the next 2 days if I'm there. I just take off my shoes and I'm walking in between the main house and Pam's house where the pool is and just barefoot all the time. And we went this weekend, and was it Friday night? Because we were still waiting for Nate to get there when it was
Yes.
the mass escape.
Oh my gosh, that was hilarious. So not only did Lucky get out and the pig was out, but then we had the dogs trying to chase the cow back in. But then the dogs, because they're not trained to do this, they literally just kept chasing it the wrong way. And then while we were trying to get the cow inside the pasture, the donkey escaped. So now we've got Donkita running around the yard trotting, look at me, this is so much fun.
Right. And then you have Dion, who is he's trying to wrangle them back in from one direction near the water, because they live on a water spring-fed pond as well. So the cows were over there by the water, and then you have an electric fence. So you're trying to get them down this alleyway, back around through the gate where now the kids and the dogs are. And the kids are elementary school ages, right? Yeah, because Ethan wasn't there. And so trying to hold back these larger dogs, who then when Dion finally got them down this little alleyway, the dogs took off and chased him back. And I think Dion was trying to not lose his temper because he's got a full-on shit show going now.
Oh, he does.
And he's, but his farm hands are these crazy dogs, elementary school kids, and then your mother-in-law all standing there with what, about 10 animals, right? I mean, total?
Yes. Oh, yeah, including the children and the dogs, yeah.
And then where were Tabby and Sabrina?
Inside the house watching from afar. Making comments.
Right.
We were screaming because when Donkita was escaping, Pam had her back turned, and we're like, Pam, turn around, Pam, no, the donkey got out. It was like a horse show.
And making voices for all the animals, because you can see them plotting against, like they're like, oh God, Dion came ill-equipped. Look at this wrangling crew. We could definitely take those kids. We could definitely take those dogs. They were plotting. You remember how they lined up right there at the fence, just waiting for their opportunity.
Absolutely. And just then chase back in. It's the excitement of the chase for them. They want to be chased. It's the weirdest thing.
It's so funny. And then finally, we thought it was going south. All of the animals got out.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, the dogs and the 2 kids came running up and got them all back in there.
And they just went wall one by one, lined up, moved right back in. It's just the weirdest thing. And you got to remember, one of our dogs is this fat little red Min Pin who is herding 3-ton cows.
Right. So what did the dog do? That was Shorty. What did Shorty do once the gate closed?
Oh, he was remember, he kept running back like, I got you. You're in the pasture. You need to get back there. I'm a big dog.
It was like he kept reenacting the running. And
over and over.
Yeah, we're watching it through the windows in the AC, mind you. Everybody else is all sweaty and hot. And we're laughing, cracking up.
Crap in Florida.
Right, cracking up that Shorty is like reliving that highlight over and over again. Like, yeah, I did it.
He's a little Napoleon.
Right. He is, right? Like that reminds me of somebody that might get into like a drunken bar fight and had never been in a fight before, and then is the man that talks about it all night. Like, hey guys, you remember that time I got in a fight? Remember?
Oh, yeah. Remember that pass in high school football?
Right. Exactly right. It was hilarious. It was so funny. And then, so how did, go back to Lucky in the barn. How do you guys know once they get out? Because you work and your husband works and Pam's gone. How do you know that she was in the barn?
So that happens one or two different ways we end up figuring out. One way is I look out a window and the damn cow is there, pretty much. I mean, it's just simple. I look out a window and, hey, you're not where you're supposed to be.
Right.
And then the other way is either the dogs are letting me know or the other cows will start screaming. Like they'll start mooing and getting really angry and making noise. And then you're like, what's going on? So now I got to go outside and check. And then you have to find where she is because normally someone's out.
Oh, okay. So you haven't always been a farmer though, right?
No, not even close. I grew up outside of DC near Quantico Marine Base.
Okay. Okay. And you guys have been on the farm for what, 4 years now?
Yes, it will be 4 years in March.
How's that transition for, because you guys lived on the coast before that, on the east coast of Florida. How's that transition been to all of a sudden having a cow outside your window? And maybe Dion's not home, so now you have to go get the cow? Is that?
Oh, hell no. 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 That cow gets out, it's staying out.
Okay.
I am not chasing that cow around a yard to get back into a damn fence.
So then it just stays, it gets a little bit of free time until
it does. Yes, it gets a little free time. It's like, oh, hey. And I'm like, peace, that's awesome. You do what you do. I'm going to do what I do and make a phone call, be like, hey, just to let you know, the cow is out. And he's like, I'll be home in 20. I'll take care of it.
That's funny. So I thought that you were out there wrangling the cow then, but you did exactly what I would do, and I'd call Nate and be like, "There's a cow outside my window."
There's a cow. Yes.
Yeah, and I'm gonna leave it right there until you get home.
I'm not going out there running. No.
There's this famous story about me when I was pregnant with Ethan that I don't do well with like cleaning up after kids vomit and puke.
And, yeah, that's part of the reason why I don't have children.
Right, and all that stuff.
If they puke, I'm puking, and
right.
Yeah, no.
So I got sick when the cable guy was there and went running up the stairs and puked up the steps into the bathroom. Oh. And instead of cleaning it up, like I walked the guy out. I was like, no, I didn't even walk him out. I just yelled from upstairs, like, you gotta go. Like,
right.
Later. So he left, and then I took beach towels and laid it across.
No, you didn't.
Sure did.
No, you didn't, Sabrina.
And then locked myself in my bedroom until my ex-husband came home. I'm not good with that stuff. And beyond
your own?
I'm probably even just a little lazy, if I'm gonna be honest.
Okay, let's be real honest. I think that one's lazy because most of us can clean up our own puke.
If somebody's not gonna force me to do it, I think they're like, you totally big daddy that situation of just like laying newspaper over a spill and then waiting for somebody else to clean it up. And I was like, well, yeah. Basically.
Yeah, pretty much. That's pretty bad, Sabrina.
It is. It is bad. And that was 18 years ago, and not much has changed.
Oh, well, that's good. Well, I'm glad your children are out of the diaper stage now.
Right. There's no personal growth in regards to that going on.
No.
So then, speaking of the town that you live in now, one of the things we did this weekend is something that we have all talked and laughed about for years.
Mm-hmm.
And that was we went to a strip club.
Yes. So not far from my house in my small town, there is a strip club. And from the outside of it, it looks like it is nasty and dirty. You look like you're going to get an STD just walking into it. Okay? Right? So we've been here almost 4 years, and finally Sabrina convinced me, hey, let's go to the strip club. It's going to be so much fun. And I'm like, what the fuck?
But this is the thing. What most people don't know is the first time we met each other, we end up that night.
A strip club.
at a strip club in my town.
And tell people what you saw at that strip club.
Oh, well, in our hometown is a bigger city and it was a little dirty. And so my husband Dion bought my husband a private dance. And Dion asked me first, which I loved, if it was okay. So I picked out the girl, and Nate went and got a private dance. And then later on that night, I wanted to get a dance by that same girl. And I found the girl sitting on the bathroom floor with her butt cheeks on the bathroom floor. And I could not wait to tell my husband, because here's this super hot stripper that just did this dance for him, that just had her ass cheeks from his face on the bathroom floor. And I doubt that was the first time she did that.
Oh, I'm sure she was on that floor before her ass was on your husband's face.
Right. And that's what I said to her. I was like, what are you doing? Well, I'm talking to my boyfriend on the phone. And I said, but your ass is on the floor and your ass was just in my husband's face. And now I can't wait to tell him. And I think that was the last time I've been to a strip club. So that was probably, what, 5 or 6? No, that was a while ago. You've lived in DeLand for 4 years.
Oh, shit. It has been a while. How long have I known you?
Well, it's got to be over 5 years.
Wow. I feel like we met like 3 weeks ago.
I know, right? So we've always joked about stopping into this strip club because you have to drive past it on one of the country roads to get to your house. But right. Most of the time when we're at your house, unless it's just my family coming, we're normally there with our group of friends, couples and our kids. This time it was just my family and your family. And our kids were all having movie night with your mother-in-law. So yes. I said, well, hey, let's go to the strip club.
Sneak out, right?
Right. So we did it. It was funny when we talk about our makeup because we both wanted to look good, but didn't want to over try, right?
Right. And I remember Dion was getting all dressed up and he put on a collared shirt. And I'm like, have you lost your mind? Take that off. Hey, I was like, where's your wedding ring? You need to put that on as well.
Right.
Like, he's teasing me going, should I put on my sexy cologne? I'm like, shit, no, you're not. Put on the nasty stuff I don't like.
Right. Because this is the difference, which I guess I didn't think about, is this place was a little too close to home.
Way too close to home.
Right? I mean, it's a stone throw from your own property. Well, not really. I mean,
well, no. Come on now.
I mean, it's not on the same. But, it's in your small town where there's only one other one?
The next one is like 40 minutes away from my town.
Yeah, so like Nate said, you could run into those chicks at Winn-Dixie.
Yeah, probably could.
Which is different than where we live because it's such a huge city. So
right.
Unless you are my husband who previously used to hang out with strippers, you're probably not going to recognize them.
So you're going to have to elaborate on that. Why did Nate used to hang out with strippers?
I have no idea. Well, yeah, I do. He spent a lot of time in strip clubs. He, in his early 20s, he spent a lot of time in strip clubs. He had a friend that was a DJ at one of our local strip clubs. Mm-hmm. And so he would hang out with this guy in the DJ booth and then spend money there. And then when Nate and I started dating, we used to go to strip clubs together all the time. So much so where eventually one night I was like, I don't want to keep going. Like to me, it's more fun when it's a random act.
Right.
Yeah. Not part of our daily lives. I mean, we don't need strippers in our life all the time, but a little bit of a stripper to keep things fun is okay.
Right.
So yeah, it's been more than one time that a girl's been up on stage and then said, "Oh, hey, Nate," or "Do I know you?" I swear to God.
Wow. How did you react to something like that?
I'm so used to it. I mean, you can't really live in this city without somebody knowing either Nate or one of his brothers or sister. And the same thing, like our son gets it all the time. There'll be a teacher that'll say, "Oh, is your Uncle Howie? Are you related to Jerry?" And can't believe, It's very hard in this big city to get away from people.
Yes, especially, well, Nate has such a huge family too.
He does. And he's lived here his entire life. So it's 42 years of
Wow.
connections.
Right.
Yeah. So, and there was another time we were at a friend's, the very first year I think we were dating, maybe the first 6 months. We went to one of my friend's birthday parties at their house. The wife had ordered a private stripper to come and dance at his 40th. So we were there. And then Nate had said to me, like, man, she looks familiar. And then when he went outside to go get a beer or something, came back in 20 minutes later, he'd been having a conversation with the stripper because they did know each other.
Really?
She used to dance at some place and was like, oh, do you? And Nate's got such a baby face still.
He does.
So it's easy to identify him.
20 years old.
I know. It's so cute. He's so fucking lucky.
Isn't he? Little bastard.
I know. So yeah, we end up at this strip club in your town where we look good, but we're not overdressed because we didn't want to try too hard, right?
Nope, can't try too hard. Nope, can't have that.
We walk in. It's a $7 cover for the guys. The girls are free. So we're already at a good starting point. It's already cheap.
Yep. It was like $4 beers.
Yeah, $4 beers, $3 for a bottle of water.
Yep.
I love the way that it was separated. Like the bar was on the right-hand side, and they had some girls around there talking to, the guys.
Tables.
Yeah, and then on the left-hand side was the stage with the dancers. And so we took basically the first row, right? We were sitting.
Yeah.
We just were sitting
in the corner up the front.
Yeah. So we sat there and we were blown away.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say? I mean, out of probably 15 girls, 10 of them, maybe 12, all had banging ass bodies.
Oh my gosh. They had amazing bodies. Now, mind you, it's no Fort Lauderdale or Miami. Okay. So for anybody who's ever been to one of those clubs, I mean, that literally is the cream of the crop. No pun intended. But these girls were pretty stinking hot. I mean, other than the one missing teeth, she was cute until she smiled.
So that was the first girl, right? That was the girl with the purple bikini thing?
Yes. And she had a little tiny waist and body. It was like, oh, she's cute.
Right. So that was the first girl. And I said to Nate, like, ooh, you should get a dance from this girl. So I was being a little premature. First girl, I was a little excited. And then she smiled and she was missing like two of her right teeth.
Yes. And it looked like they were blacked out. It was pretty bad too.
It did. But I love those moments because those are the moments where like, hey, we're cool enough to bring our husbands here. And just like the butt cheeks on the public bathroom floor where I'm like, oh, look, she might look banging, but homegirl's missing some teeth. And so Nate was like, all right, moving on.
And that really makes me think about the old one that was just like, she had been there since the beginning. Right. She had been teaching the girls. She came up to you guys so annoyingly, was like, hey, how are you? You want a lap dance? Like, not giving you an option. Then she gets on Nate's lap, and she is literally folding down her bikini, like, put some money in there, put some money in there. And he ended up putting money in there, and it was mainly just to send her on her way because she was so annoying.
Right, which, I mean, it kind of is at some point, right? So I kind of go through different emotions of it, where with those girls in particular, I would tell Nate, like, hey, give her some money because their bodies were amazing. So I felt like they deserve the money because I appreciate the hustle. Like, those girls are working for their trade. They look good. They sell an image and they're maintaining it. So give them dollars, please.
Yes.
And then there's a sympathy side of it, right? Where you don't feel like that?
I have no sympathy. No, there's no sympathy.
So I do.
I don't look at a girl and go, oh, you poor thing. Here's some money. No, you want that money. you better fucking work for it.
But what if nobody's giving her money? You don't feel bad?
No, go to the gym.
So see, I start to feel bad, and I'm like, aw, throw her $1.
See, no, I don't feel bad. I'm like, no. But I look at Dion and I go, ooh, god damn, that one is hot. Or look at what she just, I'm like, throw her some more money. She needs some more money. Keep up that,
Right. See, so that's what I do too, which when I went out of town this week, I was talking to a couple colleagues, and one of them was married, and he was surprised that the two of us went.
Really? Why?
He's been married for 20 some years and said that he's never been to a strip club with his wife, and that he can't even remember the last time he's gone because his wife doesn't like him to go. So what do you think about that? Because I know you're not like that. Like, you just had an incident when your husband went to Vegas where the other wives that said no, but you said go ahead, right?
Right. I was like, go right ahead. Have a ball. Go do what you want to do. I don't care. You want to go look at some naked ass and spend some money looking at naked ass, you go right ahead. You know, it doesn't bother. You're still coming home to me. And if you're going to cheat, you're going to cheat. And sure as hell ain't going to happen in a freaking strip club. Do you know what I mean? That's not where my concern is.
Right. And I don't think that most women get that those women are there to do a job. They're not there to sleep with your man. They don't want to sleep with your man. They see your man's money.
That's it. They want the money.
And that's it, right? But I think a lot of women are insecure and they're like, oh no, he's totally going to leave me for...
He's going to leave you for a stripper? Really? Right. He's going to downgrade.
Right.
Depending on the woman.
Right.
Well, let's think about this, because most women who are all insecure about a strip club are feeling like, you know, that they're better or whatever, but then they're going to... He chose you for a reason.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, no. That's not where I've... Like, you want to go, you go right ahead. Right. I don't see the point, because you're throwing money away. You're getting fucked without getting fucked.
Right, right. Well, and that's the other thing I kind of appreciate about the game, right? Is those girls, there probably are some guys in there that feel like, oh, she's really into me.
Oh, I'm sure. And I'm sure it's very much like a hairdresser. Like, you have your own hairdresser and you can't go to another one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because they get mad at you. I'm sure strippers are like, if you get... like a certain stripper and you keep coming back, and then if you see another one, like, they don't like that.
Oh yeah. I never thought about that before, because it would almost be like one of my clients going to
another insurance agent.
Right, yeah. So yeah, that makes sense, right? It's that they might get jealous there. I wondered that about, you know how they moved from one pole to the other. So at this strip club, they had a back pole and the front pole, which they called the main stage.
Right.
At a couple times, some of the girls took a little longer to get off that main pole. That I wondered if there were arguments between the girls in the back.
Go ahead.
Like if you take too much time, or like you're cutting into my dance, or you're wearing something similar to me, or what songs they're picking, or, you know, is this girl copying from me? Is this girl going after a guy that I've spent the last 20 minutes talking to?
Oh, I'm sure all that shit goes down.
No, they should be a reality show.
It should be a reality show. Strippers of the hometown.
Right. I really think that I wonder why they don't do that. They almost have a reality show about everything else.
They really do. I mean, Dion and I just watched Pool Kings. We watched a reality show. It's about where, you know, people hire these guys and they come in and they do these big elaborate pools.
Oh, swimming pools.
Yeah, swimming pools. There's a reality show about it. I'm like, okay, I'm watching someone else get a brand new pool put in.
Yeah, so I wonder why. I wonder if people think that strippers are downgrading or discuss. I don't know. I would
Because
think
you caught a stripper with her ass on the bathroom floor. This is why people think it's a downgrade.
right,
There's
right.
got to be some level of respect for
Or
yourself.
it's the fact that the people coming in won't
Oh,
want to be recorded, right? Because some people would be judged for it, right? Like, I mean, I went down to Fort Lauderdale and told colleagues that I went to a strip club. I could care less. But
right.
there's probably, like, if there was somebody sitting at that table who holds themselves with a stick up their ass, could have been like, ugh, that's so trashy. What is she doing at a strip club? I bet her and her husband do weird shit together.
Right? Like, oh, they're having marriage problems.
Right.
He's looking elsewhere. Oh, just very hoity-toity. I'm better than this, and it's.
I bet it's a combination of of why they haven't been able to create a reality show from it, because I think it would be amazing drama,
Oh, I bet it is. I
especially
bet it would
sexy
be
women.
like Dance Moms on steroids.
Dance mom. Yeah, because there's also, like our friend Jen, you remember at 4th of July where she said she would run like a prostitution house or something, and that she'd be so strict, like, you guys can't eat this, you better get out there and make me money.
When did she talk about running a whorehouse?
Oh my God, you missed that
Where
whole
the hell was I?
She is gonna run that shit like a fucking G, man. She was like, there's no sympathy, there's no crying in sex, there's none of this, there's none of
There's
that.
no crying in sex.
Yeah,
No,
like,
there should not be crying in sex.
right.
That should be
Because we were like, oh, Jen will be so nice. And she was like, no, those bitches better make me money.
right.
You better sell that ass the way you're supposed to. That I'm sure there's that version sitting in the back talking to those girls. Like, you guys better fucking move it. You better shake that ass. Like, oh, you only came back with this amount of dollars.
Right. I'm sure there is.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, so it ended up being a great time. Those women were very, very impressive.
Yes. For the area and considering, yes, it was really, really, they were very impressive. But I have to say, just in general, for me, strip clubs are boring past 20 minutes.
You think so?
Oh, no. I was sitting there and I'm analyzing all these women, and I'm like, you can lap dance you, and you, and you. You guys are hot enough for my husband. There you go.
Right.
Everybody else, go somewhere else.
Right.
But I was analyzing and I could actually see how they were rotating around the room between the poles and the back room, and like I just saw the whole operation going down in a flow chart.
Yeah, yeah. And what about Grandpa?
Holy crud! What in the hell? He looked down at that pussy and went, "God damn!" He leaned over. He was like, "Oh, there she's laying down, spreading her legs wide open, shaking her ass," and he like almost falls over into her, and I almost died because I thought he might have had a heart attack.
Well, you know
Like,
what?
that's one hell of a way to go.
She was so smart, because I had seen him earlier in the night, and he came out of the bathroom, and he was probably what, 80 something years old, right?
Yeah, early 80s.
Yeah, with his khaki pants pulled all the way up, his
Did he
button
have
up pocket
suspenders?
shirt tucked in, right?
Right.
All his money in his pocket up top, and he
Right.
couldn't stand up straight. So he was like leaned over, a cute little man that I kept telling Nate that I kept expecting some woman to walk in and be like, Grandpa, you gotta stop doing this. We've been looking for you everywhere, Grandpa. And him saying, just leave me the fuck alone already, you guys. So he comes out of the bathroom, lifts up his head a little bit, looks at the lady at the main stage, digs into his pocket, and with just a wrist flip, tosses $2 at her and goes back to his seat.
Oh, yeah. And we thought he was going to pull out some glasses.
Right, because the next time the girl got smart And instead of standing up, when he came out of the bathroom and went to look, she got down at his level and then spread her legs wide open. So now all he could see was tunnel to vagina.
Yes.
And so he walks up and is leaning over, because that's what his posture is, and he's just staring down at her vagina.
Right, with mouth dropped open, like, oh.
Right, and she's just keeping her legs open, and he goes to reach into his pocket, and I thought he was reaching for his reading glasses, which I would have fucking lost it.
That would have been perfect.
Right. And instead, he just starts making it rain on that shit.
Dollar bills, y'all.
With just the flip of his wrist, because he couldn't move. Like he moved very slow, but he did not lose eye contact with the vagina.
Oh no, he was focused. Like you said, tunnel vision, hoo-ha right there. Right. I mean, you would have thought that old man had found the Holy Grail.
I know. So this is the part that kind of grossed me out, is when obviously that girl knew, like, all right, he's a mark, right? I don't know what they call him, but he's a mark. He's got the money to just make it rain on her. So then
Social Security being used at its best.
Right. So then she says to him, like, don't go anywhere, baby, and gets off the stage. And right then she lost me, because the fact that she called him baby and she was a younger girl, like, that part kind of grossed me out. It's different to dance with him or dance for him, but now she was going to try to get a private dance, because obviously they make more money when they private dance. That part I was like, ugh.
Would you rather said, hold on, Poppy or Grandpa? I mean, that just would have been disgusting.
Yeah, I wish the music was just a little too loud where I didn't hear that part. Yeah. Because for some reason, that part of it was like, ugh. Like, this is the reality of it, where he was just having a good time. But now this is her job, right? She's got to do the next part, which is you have to say certain things, which she would never probably say to that guy to begin with. I mean, I'm just assuming. I'm guessing she's not into 80-year-old men.
You never know.
You never know, but I'm just guessing. And that part just kind of was like, ugh.
What was that chick's name? Nicole.
Oh.
You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, the blonde.
Yes, the blonde who married an 80-year-old man.
Yeah. He was in the.
It was true love.
What?
Oh my gosh, who was that?
He had a reality show.
To tell us who it was.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure people are screaming it, because I stayed up to date. Did you watch when she got sued? You know, she ended up having a baby with somebody.
Right. Wasn't it his?
No. So, well. No, it wasn't. So they didn't have, she was a single mom when they got married. What is her name? It's going to jump up at us at any second. So
it really is.
She had a child when she met him. He had older kids. So they got married.
Like her age.
Yes, exactly. They got married. He died of natural causes. And then he left all his money to her. Right. And then his kids tried suing her.
Right.
So then she ended up having a baby with a photographer. And they thought it was either because she got a reality show.
Of course.
And her attorney was on there. And I guess she was sleeping with her attorney too. So then there was paternity test between whether or not it belonged to the attorney or this photographer, where I think the attorney really wanted it to be his.
Well, because he would have gotten part of the reality show.
Right, and the money from her, because she was going downhill on drugs. And that's the crazy thing, is we all kind of watched it, right? Because she had a reality show on VH1, and we all kind of watched this obsessiveness about this lady she was so fucked up. So fucked up. She died.
Anna Nicole Smith.
That's it.
Yeah, there it is.
Anna Nicole. That's why we couldn't get it, because we were using her middle name. Yeah, so Anna was fucked up on drugs, and she ended up marrying the attorney, I think, in the Bahamas. Older son dies, and then she died.
Oh.
The
How
older
did she die?
she OD'd.
Oh, okay.
So the older son OD'd as well. I can't remember if it was intentional or not, but almost within, I think it was weeks, did her oldest son he died, that she did too. And then it became this big thing about the photographer obviously took the younger baby and has been raising her. And then I don't ever know what happened to that attorney, but that's actually pretty crazy, and something we should talk about one day is reality TV and the way.
Yes.
I mean, I know everything about it because I got sucked in.
Did you?
Well,
I
yeah.
can't watch reality TV.
Oh, I get sucked into it.
So I tried, back in the day, Jersey Shore. So
Mhm.
I tried to sit down and watch it, and I literally could feel my brain cells dying. That's how I felt. So it was like 20 minutes in, I was like, I cannot watch this situation any fucking longer.
See that? I think that's why I like it though, because it's so mindless that you just shuts off your brain.
Yeah.
And then we all come from this big judgmental place of like, oh my God, they're so trashy. They wouldn't do that. They wouldn't do this. Or I wouldn't do that. But it's so
Oh, we totally would do that.
Oh yeah, and it's so fun to watch them fall, right? And then social media gets into it, and the tabloids get into it, and that's what happened with Anna Nicole Smith. You could see her on her reality show. She could barely talk,
right?
Because she was on so many pain meds and so unhappy, and the world did nothing but continue to make fun of her
and cheer for her destruction.
Yeah, basically. Which is basically what reality TV is now, I guess.
Isn't it? It's what it's
Yeah.
always been.
Yeah, I agree. But I do love it.
It's so weird.
I do love it. I watch it every day.
Do you really?
Yeah, some form of it. I mean, I have my lineup on Bravo. Hold on. I'm going to get up for 1 second just because the dog's there. But I'm going to still talk. So,
okay.
Can you still hear me?
I can't hear you.
All right. So, yeah, I have my lineup on Bravo that I watch every day. I watch all of the Real Housewives.
Really?
I watch Southern Charm, Below Deck. Oh, God. My new guilty pleasure as of this past summer is, have you ever heard of Love After Lockup?
No. No, I've not. That's some crazy shit. Love After Lockup? Are they still locked up or are they out?
No, they're out. So they've met people. I guess there's dating websites for prisoners. I didn't know that before.
Yeah, so like there are people that are like obsessed with dating prisoners.
How
like,
do
I knew that?
Yeah, but how do the prisoners have an online profile?
They have an actual online profile?
Yeah, there are dating websites for prisoners because I sent my son, Ethan, who's 18, by the way, to go look at it. When I was telling him about the show, I was like, well, let's see if there's any hot women on there. Just kidding around. But there is a website, a dating website for prisoners. So that's how most of these people got connected. And so there's like a couple women and a couple men. They come out of prison. Most of them are because of drug issues, right? They've all had crack, cocaine, heroin issues. And so they've ended up in jail, but now they meet this person who is in love with them and is going to take them in as a parolee.
As a parolee?
Well, yeah, because they're all on parole. So
does that mean that, wait, so can we turn this into like a dating / we need new parole officers? So your parole officer can be your girlfriend or your boyfriend or whatever? So that way you have a parole officer living in house with you?
You don't want that, man. I'm telling you, this show is crazy because one of them, my favorite guy, and I don't watch it enough to memorize their names, but I am fully invested in this for the last 2 seasons. My favorite, most pathetic guy is the only child who comes from a good family. And he lives somewhere, from what I can tell, in the Midwest. and he comes from a faith-based mom and dad. His mom and dad gave him money and a credit card to rent a car to go pick up his new fiance out of prison. So that's
So he's from money, and he picked up his fiance from out of prison.
right. And he looks like he's had a drug problem, but apparently he doesn't. It looks like he's got a couple screw loose in his head.
Okay.
So he goes and meets this lady who is his fiance, even though they've never met. She comes running out of jail. And the first thing he does is he pays to get her hair done. He takes her shopping. He does all of this. And then they're getting married. They are going to get married at a honky-tonk bar. And she's super late. Now she spent like $700 of his money because she needed new clothes and her nails done and this and that. She shows up late to the wedding. They get married.
Okay.
And then at night, like he's talking about how he's going to take her back to the hotel because they got a fancy hotel that's got a jacuzzi tub in it. Ooh. So they're super fancy. Well, guess what? She leaves.
She left him?
Yes, because he caught her in the bathroom doing whatever kind of drug. What heroin? I don't know too much about that stuff. So heroin or crack or something. So he caught her. So she took the rental car keys and disappears for 2 fucking weeks.
Wow.
So now he has to go. Right. He has to go back to his mama and explain to her why her credit card's now being charged up for a stolen car.
Wait.
How he married.
He put all this on his mother's credit card?
Yeah.
How sad is that?
I know.
How old is this man?
He has to be in I would say his early 30s.
Okay, can we talk about the problem with that to begin with?
I know. That's what I said. The man's got a couple screws loose.
No, I don't think the man's got a couple screws loose. I think mommy has some issues in letting go and cutting the umbilical cord.
Oh, well, let me tell you, after she finds out about the fact that he got married to this girl and she has a drug problem, Mama was not happy.
Did Mama even know she was in jail for drugs?
No.
Who all came to this wedding?
Nobody. It was at a honky-tonk bar in the middle of the dance floor.
Just them?
Just them.
All right.
So then season 2, I think at the end of season 1, he gets a phone call from another. It's like, you have a phone call from inmate such and such.
Oh, so she got picked up.
She did. So she had to go back to jail.
Well, of course, she stole a car.
And right. Right. She did drugs and she violated her probation. So in season 2, they're trying all over again.
We're trying.
I got hope for them. Yeah, I got hope for them.
It was a rough year. It was a rough first 6 months, but all we had was 6 months.
Right. So she makes it off of parole in season 2. However, he's into some bad things. I think that he's on drugs. I swear, I think he is. There's just no way. You know how you could tell, like, if somebody who's done drugs or a lot of alcohol, that it wears on your body, right? You can
see it in their skin and just the way they look.
I find it very hard to believe that he doesn't have an issue. But
he does have issues. We just don't know if it's drugs.
Right. Well, now they're the winning couple on this show because they're still married.
It's a competition?
It's not, but in my mind it is.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, how are they winning? Because they're obviously not winning at life.
Right. Well, they're still married. She's off her probation. But the other day they did get into an argument at a hotel and he was like punching and kicking the walls where I'm like, this dude's about to go to jail. And now she's going to be waiting on him.
Well, serves her right.
Right.
So she'll probably end up in jail and maybe they can see each other as they're passing in the hallways.
I know. That's funny.
Maybe they can get conjugal visits since they're...
Is that really a real thing?
I think it is, or at least it used to be. I don't know. So
does that mean, like, if my husband went to jail, that if that I could go there and have sex with him?
I don't know. I really don't know.
And I assume that if that is the case, every area of the jail is under surveillance, right? So does that mean that every one of our prisons that allow conjugal visits has a bunch of videotapes of convicts fucking?
It wouldn't shock me if they did. It would not shock me.
Next time I go to a porn website, I'm going to see if there's jail.
Conjugal.
Right, under the category site.
Right?
I mean, I don't know if that's a thing of the past or a current thing. The only thing that makes me think it is that, again, from a reality show, one of the housewives that went to prison, they asked her if she did, what is it called? Conjugal visits.
Right.
She said that at that prison it wasn't allowed. So that means that some...
Maybe. They can have...
So
that's kind of...
Do that, your man goes to prison.
And he can still get laid.
Yeah, so would you go there if you knew that it was under surveillance?
No.
I wouldn't either, dude.
Not a chance in hell. If you are in jail or in federal prison, it's for a reason. And you're not supposed to be getting any punani. It is a punishment.
Right.
Not a reward system.
Right. If your man went to jail and say it's for 5 years and you've chosen to stay with him, it was something minor, whatever it is, tax evasion, let's say. I'm knocking on wood because I never want this to happen. You've decided to wait for him. Would you still sleep with other people? And do you think he should allow you to, or should you have to wait faithfully?
So me personally, I would wait faithfully for 5 years.
You would?
Yes, I wouldn't cheat. To me, that's cheating. Regardless if you're in prison or not in prison, for me, that's cheating.
Right.
I wouldn't do it. And I don't need to have sex. I got a vibrator and a dildo, and I know how to take care of me.
What if he said, Tabby, while I'm gone, you do you, boo. Just don't tell me about it.
If my man ever said, you do you, boo, I can dump him right then and there.
Okay.
Be like, we need some divorce papers.
Okay, well, whatever version he uses, would you say no, or would you just do it?
No, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
And if I caught him having conjugal visits, oh no. No. So that wouldn't happen.
I do think that that's a rule, that the conjugal visits can only be your spouse.
And you think they all follow the rules?
No, I think that that's why people get married or fake marriage. Like, I might be making this up, but I thought at one time I heard somebody say that, like, he was married to, say, like, Juanita, and so Sophia pretended like she was Juanita. So that because she was the side chick, that she pretended like she was his wife, so she could have that conjugal visit.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I could have seen that in a movie too.
Yeah, exactly. That's my only reference of conjugal visits, is seen on the movies, like The Guy in Prison in 1950s, right?
Yeah, see, that's why I wonder if it's something of the past or if it's currently happened. If anybody knows, please educate us.
Yes, we need some education on conjugal visits.
Yeah, and is it equal? Is it the same rules at the women's prison as the men? Or do they feel like the men have a more sexual desire that need to be fulfilled and the women don't? So they don't, like, I want to know.
Oh, yeah, because, shit, we get horny, and when we don't get released, we're fucking likely to stab you. Ask any man who's been married.
Right. So somebody tell us. If somebody knows, please let me know. Because I want to know if conjugal visits are a thing of the past or if they're allowed. And if you have to be married to do it.
Right.
Because if not, think about it. You'd have a lot of
free
girls. Yeah. I mean, well, you'd have a lot of people coming in there. You'd be fucking all day.
You could have a prostitution system coming in. As long as you're getting your money, and paying them, true.
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if it's a real thing.
That would be funny if it was, because then the illegal prostitution is being done in a federal facility.
Oh, yeah, right?
Right?
Well, there's no doubt in my mind that there's crazy illegal shit going on in those prisons.
Oh,
Don't
definitely.
you think? Between the guards, the actual prisoners, like they're hustlers, man.
Oh, yeah. There's a reason why people say, wasn't a criminal until I got into prison. And then they really became a criminal. I think that was a line from Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, so then they started working the system, or really you kind of have to, right?
Right. You have to learn how to work the system when you're in there, or it's gonna work you.
It pretty... I don't know if you meant that sexually, but I
took you to get that one.
Right. I was trying to say, I don't know if you meant that sexually, but I had a sexual image in my head. It definitely will work you.
Oh, yes.
And so that too, right? So some of our friends say, like, if you're married, it's not gay and they're just kidding around. If you go into prison and you get a dick up your butt, are you truly gay, or are you just waiting out your 5 years?
Both.
You think so?
Yes, maybe. I don't know. I guess it depends on how hard you fight back.
Right. But I wonder if those men in prison that are like, well, yeah, I'll let this guy suck my dick. Like, does he consider himself gay, or is he just like, no, I don't think he does, right?
No, because they're just releasing themselves.
Yeah, they're just doing what they need to do to get by.
Right.
Now,
in a women's prison, I don't think the women who are sleeping with each other consider themselves lesbians either.
Now,
not all of them.
Would you consider that cheating?
What? Sleeping with a woman?
No. Say if like my husband was in prison and we've decided to stay together that 5 years, but he let somebody suck his dick, is that him cheating?
So, well, that depends. That depends. And it's a really, funky situation, because was he having someone suck his dick because he needed to establish dominance and power so that he doesn't get gang raped himself?
So if it was a power move.
If it's a power move, right, then okay. But then also take it on the other side, is if he is getting bombarded by these other guys, do you consider that cheating too? See, in either situation, I wouldn't consider it cheating. Because, like, I know your husband, and I know he's straight. Right. So if that had happened, there was some reasoning behind it.
So that's a good point, right? So unlike me, if I was living on the outside world, I wouldn't have to establish any dominance. I would just go along with my daily life and wait for my man. However, he was in prison and it became a security or dominance issue and it was necessary, I don't really think I'd care.
Right.
So he didn't have one in his mouth, I think.
You wait, what?
I said as long as he didn't have one in his mouth, I think.
Oh, he probably ended up having one in his mouth.
You think that happens you think that happens there like that?
Really? Really?
I don't know.
You don't? You don't? Have you ever seen a man who hasn't had sex in a year? Think about that for a second.
I know a lot of angry men that I assume aren't having sex.
There you go.
Right.
And they're already angry men to begin with.
Right. Yeah, that's true, right?
And now they're not getting any sexual satisfaction.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy what people would consider the exceptions we'll make when we're put under certain pressure or situation, where at one point everything's so black and white, and then you get pulled a little bit to the left and you're like, a win's a win.
Yeah.
Yeah, win's a win.
Right? And then that is your husband's phrase, isn't it?
Right. A win's a win. You got to do what you got to do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So going back to the strip clubs, and with Dion being in Vegas and you giving him permission to go to a strip club, I kind of had the opposite. I think the last time Nate had gone to a strip club was actually without me.
Uh-huh.
And well, now I'm not 100% sure if it was the last time or the second to last time, but either way, he went one time without me, which typically I wouldn't care about. But this time, he told me the morning after.
Okay, so he went to a strip club and then told you the next morning.
Right. And I was mad.
Why were you mad?
Because we text each other all day long. It's nothing. How long does it take to take a 2-second text and say, hey, going to the strip club with my friends?
Right.
And instead, he chose not to do that. So to me, it's like, where you didn't give me an option to have an opinion.
Right. He just kind of did it himself. Kind of like the whole, I'm just going to ask forgiveness later.
Right. Exactly. So I didn't like it that time. Where I'd rather you just say, like, you don't have to ask my permission, but at least text me like, hey, this is the plan, because that's what we do on a normal basis.
Right. With everything.
Right. So for that one time for you not to message me, to me is deceitful. You made a choice. Yeah. You made a choice not to message me about it.
Right. And why? What was the reasoning behind that?
Right.
You know, I understand you could have just forgot, whatever, or, who knows?
Right. Yeah. So I didn't like it that one time. And I think that's the only time we've ever been in an argument about a strip club. Just tell me beforehand.
Right.
Because if not, I'm cool with it.
Right. So, for me, like I said, I don't care if Dion goes. Have fun. Like, he was out in Vegas doing a work event, and they were all going to go. And he told me about it beforehand, and I'm like, well, have a great time. And he gets a call back, goes, we're not going. And I'm like, why not? And he's like, all the wives. He's like, well, not you, but all the other wives are giving all the guys a hard time.
See, I think that, that says, do you think that says a lot about their wives or their relationship as couples?
I think both, actually. I think a lot of the time wives don't like their husbands going to strip clubs because they can be insecure, right? Mm-hmm. Either about themselves or about their relationship. And it could also be just that, you think of a strip club and you think of some dirty, nasty place, and you're like, I don't want my husband in there, right? Looking at this nasty pussy and then coming back and trying to love all on me, right? You know what I mean?
Right. Now, does that offend you? So, if my husband gets a dance, first of all, I find females very attractive. I don't feel like I have any type of lesbian tendencies, but I find the female form super sexy.
Okay.
And I'm super okay with somebody putting their hot body on my dude because I know that my husband loves me.
Right.
And I also know that it is important for us not to be boring. We've been together 16 years. Wow. And I can say just this summer, we probably had 2 times that was like the best sex we've had in a long time. And it's because, yeah, Tabby's spanking her hand.
Oh, yeah.
But that's because we're not afraid to do things out of the norm. Like, who wants to always have sex in their bed in the missionary position? It turned me on to know that my husband got a dance from somebody else.
Really?
Yeah, that doesn't bother me. It turned me on to do that.
So, it doesn't turn me on per se, but I'm like, all right, you like her. Have fun.
Right. Now, does it surprise you the type of women that your husband finds attractive?
No.
So Nate, I knew. So the girl that Nate got to dance with that night had that long black hair.
Uh-huh.
Very pale white ivory skin. She had amazing boobs. Remember, she was the only one with a job, so I loved her boobs. She
had a sweep, it was a badonkadonk.
Right. So if she would have had tattoos all over her body, Nate would have been into it even more.
Really?
He really likes these girls with this long hair and tattoos everywhere.
Right.
With those really fit bodies and just a completely covered, which is funny because it's the opposite of me. I'm a blonde with short hair, with tattoos that are hidden and small. But that's what my husband is attracted to when it comes to strippers.
Huh.
But that doesn't bother me because I'm like, all right, well, cool. You get the best of both worlds. You can go and look at one every few years.
Right.
Get a dance from one every few years.
I like how you say every few years.
Right. Yeah.
Let's clarify. Every few years.
So now that would be a game changer to me, right? Because like I said, when we were going all the time, eventually I was like, look, I don't need to go look at strippers to fuck you. And that's kind of what it's starting to feel like. Like this was like 13 years ago.
Uh-huh.
So I wouldn't like it if it was all the time.
Right. No, I totally get that.
Yeah.
You know, Dion, like you were saying, the different types, like Nate's type, his stripper type is completely different than you. So we were walking down the street. So like Dion and I check out women together all the time. We're like, did you see that ass? Look at that ass. Like, and pointing it out to each other. Mm-hmm. And then I asked them one time and I'm like, well, how can you find that ass attractive? And I'm like, it's like 6 sizes smaller than me.
Uh-huh.
Right? And looks nothing like me. And he's like, well, he said, you love a Corvette. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, you also love a Mustang. I'm like, yeah. He goes, you also sometimes enjoy a Jeep, like a nice SUV, right? Like an off-roading kind of deal.
Right.
And he goes, you don't love any of them any less. They're just different. And I was like, that's a great explanation. I love it.
And it's variety, right?
It is.
Because I think that, for at least for me, the men that I find attractive, they all look the same.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know, and maybe I'm just assuming that most women have a type and we all kind of stick with that. But in a man's true fantasy world, they like everything. See,
I don't think so, because like women have different types, and if you ever notice, women end up never marrying their type.
Yeah, that's true. I married somebody shorter than me.
Yeah, we don't ever marry our quote unquote type. We have lots of types. We have different types for different things. We have a physical type. We have an emotional type. We have I'm just going to fuck the shit out of you type, and don't ever talk to me again.
Here, please don't call me. Don't call me. Don't friend request me either.
Exactly. But bye-bye.
Right. Do you think men are surprised to know that women are so sexual?
Dumbasses are.
And do you think, between our friends, like our girlfriends, we talk about sex a lot, and we're all very sexual women and okay with it. And I feel like we all talk dirty more than our men do.
Oh, most definitely. Dion said to me one time, he goes, oh my God. He's like, you have got such a dirty mind. And I'm like, yeah, and?
Right.
I'm like, and your point?
Right.
He's like, you're worse than a guy. And I was like, and you're welcome.
Right. I think most men would be surprised to know, unless you're married. Like Nate understands that women are foul-mouthed, dirty motherfuckers because he's heard all of us talking before.
Well, I don't think it's that they're surprised. I think it's I had the word and I lost it. Shit, I literally went blank right there. They're, I guess, surprised, but because, when you first meet a woman, when you're single, most of the time she's very proper and putting her best foot forward, and then you get to know her a little bit and she tells you to go fuck off, and you're like, what? But I like it. Wait a minute.
Right. And do you think in today's, if we were to rewind 30, 40 years ago, that our parents were talking, our mothers with their girlfriends were talking the same way, or that our generation is more free sexually?
Oh, our generation is definitely more free sexually.
Me too.
Absolutely. My parents weren't talking about that. They were, if they were talking about that, that was with one little friend, and it was hush, hush, nobody knows. Like, she parked the car 6 streets over, and nobody knew she came over to talk about her hoo-ha.
Right. Yeah, I love that about women now. I love this sexual revolution that we've entered where first of all, you're not going to slut shame us. You're not going to judge us. We might be into the same things that you are because we're all fucking human.
Right. And that goes for women slut shaming other women.
I hate it.
I do too. Look, here's the thing. We say boys will be boys and boys can go around and sleep with, have multiple partners, and that's great. And they're like, as long as they're being open. Well, guess what? That goes the same for women. If you want to sleep with multiple partners when you are single, great. Just make sure that your partners know up front you're not looking for a relationship. You're out here to have a good time, and it is what it is.
Right. And it's important and okay. Like we have two single friends that are recently singled. Right. And it's important for them to be like, hey, you're not very good at what you're doing. Or you don't have to be as blunt. You can just like, look, you're not doing a good job. Or, well, that's still mean. Why am I so mean? How do you say a positive?
Because you're always mean. You're just real. It's not mean.
How would you say that to somebody if they were going down on you and it wasn't right?
I'd be like, okay, so
just
look.
Push your head a little to the right. Like, dude, that's actually my leg.
If it was that bad, Sabrina, I'd be like, hey, look, you got to stop. I got to go.
You might be blind. You might want to go see a doctor.
Right. Because I have a rule, and I tell them this rule. I'm like, if you do not come up from eating me out and your face does not look like a Krispy Kreme donut, you are doing it wrong.
Right.
So, seriously, if you're not glazing the donut, it's time to get the fuck out of the bakery.
And that's a good point. I read 2 days ago that it is important for a woman to get at least 40 minutes of, what is it called beforehand? Foreplay. Yeah. I was like, what's that?
Do you like foreplay?
Well, so look, I get impatient and I'll just be like, all right, let's fucking do it.
Thank you. I am the exact same way. I'm like, I don't need all this loving and caressing.
Yeah, I don't want any of that.
Kissing and all over. Sometimes I'm just like, dude, I want to fuck. Let's go. I don't have time for this shit.
So what I read 2 days ago was that is a dissatisfaction for us because the way that our bodies prime itself and the way that Krispy Kreme wetness down there actually loosens everything up in our vagina. It actually starts to shift things around so you can take more in there.
Right.
I know that. So if you're just hurrying up and just pounding it out, a woman's not going to get that much satisfaction of it. So I've actually been cutting myself short when I'm like, all right, I want to fuck. And
I disagree. Oh, absolutely. Look, 5 minutes foreplay, getting it all lubed up and playing, a little bit of and all that good stuff, right? And then you get into it. And I am not dissatisfied. And I'm not bragging, but I have got the sex drive of a fucking 18-year-old man.
I do too.
Fucking go and go and go and go and go and go. So this whole I need 40 minutes of prep time, bullshit.
And really, who has time for that?
Nobody has time for that. And that's why women are pissed off because they're not getting laid.
Right. So you saying that you have such a high sex drive reminds me of a conversation Nate and I had last week when I would love to have sex every day. Every day. The other day he came home from lunch. I knew I could hear his car coming. I jumped out all of a sudden and I was ready to go. Ready to go.
Oh yeah.
And men are like that when they're younger.
Yes.
And then it kind of weans off a little bit, right? And they reach their 40s and their bodies start to change and they lose that sexual drive. Meanwhile, God or science has made us fucking primed and ready to go.
Isn't that some biological bullshit?
That is.
Straight up, girls are at their prime in their 30s when they're supposed to be having babies, which fucking ruins the mood, right? And then guys are in their prime in 18 and fucking everything in sight, and it's great for them. But of course, 18-year-old sex versus 40-year-old sex is quite something different.
Huge
I
difference.
mean, they may be able to pump it out 2 or 3 times in a night at 18, but the girl's not coming like she's supposed to, but that 40-year-old man can please the fuck out of a woman.
And I would go as far to say that most of them aren't coming at all. Most women, 18-year-old women, if they're fucking these 18-year-old men that fuck like rabbits, most of us don't actually start to enjoy sex until I don't know.
Because women don't explore their bodies.
Yeah.
Seriously. Women need to start freaking masturbating. There is nothing wrong with it. Feel your body, touch yourself, get toys, have a good time. Because then when you get with a partner, you know what you want and you can demand what you want.
So we just had this, I think we were at your house when we had this conversation, and we challenged our single friend to say, listen, when you come back into town by the end of July, and I'm going to have to check with her because I'm going to see her this weekend, you better have masturbated at least 4 times. Because she said that she never does it.
Really?
How are you supposed to know if you like, or what you want to tell a man to do if you don't even know how you like it? How are you going to let somebody else figure that out for you?
No, you can't. And what you like at different times changes, so you need to just know you.
Right. And I think, too, like sex versus 18 or in your 20s with multiple partners, one of the reasons, besides just my wedding vows, that I would never cheat on my husband is he is the best person I've ever had sex with, without a doubt. The best I've ever had. Why would I ruin 16 years for a chance to screw somebody that might be god fucking awful?
Because most of them are god fucking awful.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it.
No.
I wouldn't do it because I'd be like, really?
You're like, this is, yeah, no.
That was it?
That was it? Great, thanks. I could have done that. I could have done that myself.
Right. Please get your sweaty body off of me.
Yes. Yeah, that was great. Please leave. Go away.
I think it takes for a woman and a man, it takes time in doing it over and over and over again to figure out how to please each other and how to be good sexually.
Exactly. So, like, there are times Dion knows what I need and what I want before I do.
Oh, yeah.
I love it. I freaking love it.
Right. It's a huge difference. And I don't think men realize the benefit of getting married. That as long as I don't think I've ever told Nate no about anything. Because I know Nate has a goal in mind, and that is to please me.
Right. And that's the other thing. Women don't seem to realize that by a certain point, men are more satisfied by turning on their partner than just getting off.
100%. You just nailed that 100%. It turns them on more than anything to know that they've done it for us.
Right.
And that matters so much to a man.
Yes, it does.
And I think when women are faking it or not pushing their man to that point to get them off, they're actually doing their husbands or boyfriends a dissatisfaction.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Freaking be honest with them. Tell them exactly what you want, because they like that. I mean, the experience of a woman orgasming, like a true orgasm, is a fucking amazing experience.
Right.
You know?
And guys eat that up.
Oh my gosh, like the Krispy Kreme donut with the hot sauce on.
Oh God. I'm going to make sure not to have my stepmothers listen to this podcast.
Okay.
You know, we just can't help it.
No, we can't. We can't say no to the donuts.
Yeah, and by the way, our husbands are going to fucking love us because they're sexual studs, and we let the whole world know that.
Yes, they are.
Where we will not be broadcasting that is at any local fucking strip club.
No, most between here or your place. Nowhere in between.
Right. If a stripper asks me, I'm going to tell him that dick is lame.
No, I'm gonna tell him that dick is fucking amazing and you can't have it.
Oh no, bitch, I'm lying. I'm gonna say it's lame. It's lame, and actually he only has one leg. So there's stuff wrong with him. And he's got poor credit. I'm lying to a stripper girl.
Oh, there you go. All you gotta do is say poor credit and they're out.
Right. I'm totally lying to a stripper. So I'm going to turn this now from our husbands being the best sexual partners in the world to what we had talked about a little bit before of who's a better spouse.
Yes.
So, and I'm interested to say, I had told you before that my husband and I write out not our New Year's resolutions, but on New Year's Day, we get up in the morning and we pull out this list that we've made the year before of goals that we'd like to accomplish in the new year. And we also write down our favorite things that we've done in the previous year. And then we read it to one another. And like he'll think of things that I didn't think of, like Dion running down the street with Bloody Marys in New Orleans. And then we'll start talking about it and we'll laugh. We're like all mention something that we had a great memory about. And then so we're basically reminiscing about the past year and then setting our goals for the future year. And then that next year we look at it. And one of my items is always that I'm going to be a better wife.
A better wife.
Yeah.
Every year.
Every year. Because I still haven't accomplished it.
You've been married for 16 years.
We've been together for 16 years and married for 11 years, but we might as well just say 16, right?
Okay.
So, yeah, I don't feel like I've accomplished it. I feel like Nate is a better spouse.
Why? Why do you not feel like a good wife? What is your definition of a wife?
I am a good wife, but I feel like I could be a better wife.
Why?
Because let's see how I can explain this. I'm a very organized person, right? I work, my husband works, we have 2 kids that were both in school at one time. And so we've got 4 different schedules going on. Right. My job has always been to organize everybody's life, organize our household. I pay the bills. I do the grocery shopping, everything. Like I control everything. I control our schedules. He tells me what he has going on. I pencil it in. I tell him if it conflicts with anything else. I've always done all of that. So on the surface, I feel like that makes me a good wife.
Okay.
Right? When it comes to that part of it. However, when it comes to sometimes the way I speak to him, because of this role I've given myself, is he not then a role underneath me on almost the same role as our 2 children? So I feel like I'm condescending to him. And that I'm not treating him then as my equal because we're not doing any of these things together. I'm telling him, I'm doing this. And I feel entitled to this opinion I have of, well, I do everything.
Right.
It's because I want to do everything and I'm allowing him to do everything. So I feel like I talk down to him about it. I also find my husband very funny. In his mannerisms and the way he speaks and the way he talks. Not that I'm making fun of him, but I find him funny and I like to sometimes laugh at him and not with him. So then I have to catch myself doing that. Okay. What other, I should have written a list of ways that I suck as a wife. Oh, the other thing is like intimacy, right? I'm all about sex.
Okay.
All about it. What I'm not all about is laying in each other's arms watching TV.
Okay.
Or random hugs throughout the day. Or, walking hand in hand. Because a lot of times I walk very fast. And so then I'm ahead of him instead of right next to him.
Well, you're freaking almost 6 foot tall. Of course you walk fucking fast. Dion's 6'3" and I can't keep up with the son of a bitch. But that doesn't mean he doesn't love me. Right,
but so you remember I sent you that,
and it's not your fault. Your husband's short.
Right. He's actually only an inch shorter than me, but it doesn't appear so. But he's only an inch shorter than me. I think the problem is that, so I sent you a link earlier on love languages.
Right.
Because my best friend Jamie told me to take this love language test this past July, and I did. And to also have Nate take the test, because then I would know how to fill his love tank, let's say, right? His emotional love tank, which I got
his love tank.
Right. That's a quote from the Real Housewife of Orange County, if anybody watches that. So
and this is where we're taking the love advice from. Okay.
Right. So
we got problems.
His results, though, show that he feels love from words of affirmation and physical touch.
Okay.
So that's where I'm right. So something as simple as, yes, I'm an outstanding wife when it comes to running our household, and we hang out together all the time. I'll go anywhere he wants to go. He wants to go to hockey games, football games, this kind of game, that kind of game. I'm down for it. We can go to strip clubs together. We could do whatever. However, this simple task of me not filling this, right, I'm not doing that.
So basically what you're saying is you are the freaking chief of operations, right? You fucking run the household, but you're not the company therapist.
Right.
Okay, that's what I'm hearing. You're not the therapist.
Yeah, I'm the COO. Yeah, chief of operations. That's right.
Yeah, there you go. You're the COO. You run the shit out of that household.
Mm-hmm.
But don't come looking at me for a hug.
Right. Well, that's 100%. And that's not reading what he needs.
Okay. Right.
He appreciates all this stuff, of course, that I do. But all the man needs is a hug. And so much so, Tabby, where we had to get married. We got married by a pastor who required us to do marriage counseling first. Did you do that before you guys got married, or no? Okay, so
I'm not getting any kind of marriage No. We had a family friend who married us.
Okay.
So, I didn't.
So we went to this marriage counseling thing, and the very first step included us individually taking a test that was like a bubble fill-in test, a Scantron.
Right.
Is that what it's called, Scantron?
Yes, it's called yep.
Yeah. So the results of that test 11 years ago was that I was not physically enough for Nate. Not sexually, but physically.
Okay.
And when the pastor asked him about it, it was that, like, if he would ask me or he'd go in for a hug, I would reject him. Where the truth of the matter was, he would want a hug in the middle of me cooking dinner. And so the pastor was like, okay, I understand that, but once you were done cooking dinner, did you go and give him that hug? Well, no.
Oh.
Because my mind's already moved on, and I've got 100 things going, and I've forgotten this one simple thing that can make a huge difference in my husband's life.
Right. And I get that. But that's hard for you. Like, so that also comes from you doing everything, managing all the kids' emotions, their fights, the schedules, the cooking. I mean, Sabrina, I have seen you leave the house for a week and nobody has to fucking cook, even though you're not there, right? So that's how you show your affection and love. So if, maybe he wants more physical affection in that sense, you gotta let go of the control and let him start helping out.
Yeah, that's true, right? And then
so freaking wound up with everything that you can let your emotions and you can break down some of your walls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point, because then I wouldn't feel, because my love language is acts of service and words of affirmation. And so it would take some of this burden off of me.
Right. And with the action one, him just vacuuming or cleaning a bathroom means so much to you.
Right, yeah.
Right, without having to ask to have it done.
Right.
And then,
go ahead.
So, like, if he was to help out with some of the other stuff around the house and that kind of stuff, it might relieve you, and then you'd be able to break down your walls, and then you'd be able to give him a hug in the middle of dinner.
I know, I really need to. It's just a fucking hug, man.
Right?
I mean, the man requires nothing else from me.
Just a hug.
Just a hug.
Just a hug. Just a hug. That's it.
All right, I'm going to count my hugs I give out between now. I'm not hugging fucking strangers.
No, I want to know, not strangers, but on our next podcast, I want to know how many hugs you gave Nate.
All right, I'm going to have a hug count.
All right.
I'm writing that down.
Yes. And you know what? I want our viewers to guess how many hugs Sabrina gave out in a week.
Just to Nate, though.
Just to Nate. Well, because we know she sure as hell ain't hugging anybody else.
Yeah, our friends that are listening, don't try to fucking hug me. Please.
That doesn't count.
No. And I hate it. I hate that. Well, first of all, men aren't required to give hugs out, right? Why do men
give me hugs all the time?
Yeah, but just out in public. Like, so when I go to work, my male colleagues hug me, or my clients hug me, or yes, or people, just general people, like family, friend, they're all huggers. Okay. But do two men hug each other?
In my family, yes.
They do?
Yes. So in my family, when you arrive, everybody hugs. And when you leave, everybody hugs. And everybody hugs everybody else. It doesn't matter if you're a straight men are hugging. Now, mind you, that's my side of the family, not necessarily Dion's. But that's how it works. Everybody hugs. It's the proper etiquette.
I guess you're right.
Lots of hugging.
Yeah, if I think about like not on my side of the family, but like on Nate's side of the family, like his brother Howie and then his brother-in-law Stacy, they hug all the time. And you know what? I find that endearing and strong, right? Because as men, they have this emotion where they truly love their family and their friends and that they hug.
Right.
And I'm not, see, that's why he's a better husband, or a better spouse.
That doesn't make him a better husband.
Well, I feel like he's had more growth than I have over the last 16 years.
Maybe. It all depends on your growth, because I'm sure you running that household, it's gotten a lot easier than day one.
Well, yeah, because easier for who? For whom?
You. Despite having 2 children and working a full-time job and running that household, when you first started it 11 years ago, it is a hell of a lot easier now than it was then. Why? Because you grew, you got experience, you knew how to handle it. Things that used to stress you out don't stress you out anymore. Right. Yeah, that's true. And I have let go a little bit. Okay.
Where I let my kids do the cleaning, and it might not be the best, but
when it's clean.
Yeah, and it's manageable, and it doesn't drive me crazy. It used to be when it was just Ethan, every Saturday morning for about 5 hours, Ethan, Nate, and I would clean the house from top to bottom.
Wow.
Now I'm like, fuck it. The kids do their chores on a Friday, and we're good to go.
There you go.
So we can enjoy more of our life but that means I have more time for hugs. I'm giving hugs.
See, now you have to give hugs.
Right.
Reason not to give hugs.
Now, what about between you and Dion? Who would you say is the better spouse?
Well, so like Dion, because I'm a stay-at-home wife, so Dion is definitely better at providing for the family. Right? But again, I'm like you. I freaking run the house. I run the house, run the farm, except for chasing the cows. I don't do that. I have my limits.
Right.
But, I mean, I don't know. Like, he's very supportive. He's very emotional. He gives me everything that I need. And I give him all the stuff that he needs. So, like, I don't know who's better. We're just different.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, his support is not very lovey-dovey, right? His support is, I go, hey, babe, I'd really like to do something or accomplish something. He's like, great, let's figure out a plan. And I go, oh, this is so hard. And he's like, well, quit your fucking whining and get your shit together.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? But he's like, I'm doing this for you, right? Mm-hmm. Not doing the work for me, but he's like, I'm motivating it for you so you can grow and achieve what you want to achieve.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep, that makes sense. You know, he's pushing you.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. I don't know.
How do you respond to that?
I try to fight him on it straight up. I'm like, and then I stop and I think and go, fuck, he's right.
Yeah. And do you say that to him? Do you say that? Yeah.
Yep. I totally tell him that he's right. I'm like, yep, you're right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, totally. But then there's times I go to him and I'm like, you, bed, snuggle, now.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, okay. And then I take him and I snuggle up to him because I'm very much the action. So doing things for me is a huge thing. And then, you know, the physical touch.
Right.
You know, there was something on there about gifts and stuff. I'm like, I don't give a shit about gifts. I don't want gifts. I want you to clean the bathroom without me asking. I want you to go into the laundry room and take that wet laundry in the washing machine and put it in the dryer without having to ask you, right? Or even if I do have to ask and he does it, it's awesome. It feels great. So when he does little things like that, I'm like, yay!
Right.
Win.
I agree.
That's positive feedback. Like I scratch his back, give him some love, and I'm like, let's do this again.
See, and that's where I'm failing too, is that positive feedback. That's so important, right?
Yes, it's positive reinforcement. It's kind of like training a dog.
I mean, listen, I kid around with Nate all the time. Nate's a different man than he was 16 years ago, and he's been in an extensive training program for 16 years, and I've succeeded. I mean, he is a great husband. He loves me to death and will do anything for me. Anything.
So wait, does that mean that because Nate is the better spouse that you can take credit for it because you helped him get there?
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is what I don't do right, is when he does mow the lawn, when he does do, you know, whatever, and he does so much more. Because when I met Nate, he was just a early 20s bachelor, right? He had lived in a shitty house that was completely dirty. His mama had to come and clean his bathroom, so I would spend the night.
Oh, that's bad.
Right.
That's really bad.
And he was essentially raised as an only child, so he didn't have chores, he didn't have responsibilities, he didn't do his own laundry, and he's so different than he was when I met him. But if he cleans the toilet, then I'm like, oh, well, big deal. I've been cleaning toilets for fucking years. Where I should say is, babe, the yard looks great. Like, you did a great job. And I did that yesterday to him. I remembered as we were pulling up, our yard last year looked like shit. The neighbors and us had some issues with weeds. And this year, the two of us really tackled it. We hired a company. In this whole year, I've been complaining to Nate, like, oh, we wasted fucking money. We didn't do anything to the yard. There goes thousands of fucking dollars. Now we're going to have to pay it again, blah, 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 blah. And he kept saying, like, it's not a big deal. I'm going to get it figured out. I'm going to get it. Oh, that's never going to fucking work, blah, blah, blah. Well, it worked. And yesterday, as we were pulling into the house, he was like, man, the yard looks good. And I said, have you thought about telling me, like, hey, by the way, I was right? And he was like, no. And I was like, why not? I totally would have.
Wait, him telling you that he was right?
Yeah, that he did it. Like, I was like, every time you pull up to our yard, you don't think like, oh, I need to tell that bitch, like, see, I told you so. And he was like, no. And I was like, I would have, because I'm an asshole. I would have been like, hey, by the way, told you so.
Okay, so Nate is definitely the better spouse.
Yes. I told you he is.
Yes, Nate is definitely the better spouse.
Because I don't have a filter at all. And so he tells me that he likes that. He always knows where he stands with me. He always knows that I don't lie to him. Even if I've fibbed in playing a game, almost within 15 minutes, I'll be like, hey, by the way, I totally cheated. Because I can't stand that burden of lying to somebody.
Right.
Like I've fucked up a couple times in the last 16 years and maybe spoken to somebody that I knew that he didn't want me to. Well, I don't keep it from him. I'll tell him.
Right.
You know, we'll talk about it. So I don't have a filter at all.
No.
And sometimes I would think that he wants me to have one, but I think he likes to know where he stands with me. I hope.
Yeah. Well, of course. They all want to know where they stand.
Right.
Yeah.
And I read in this book one time, I think that Nate and I were already married in the beginning of our marriage. So like, I think we were in the middle of trying to have a baby. This is before Lorelai was born. I believe in self-help books. I believe in therapy and all of that.
Okay.
So I went to the public library and I got all of these self-help books about how to save a marriage, how to stay connected. And one of the pieces of advice said, if your goal is simply to make that other person happy every single day, and he has the same goal, that you'll have a happy marriage because nobody's being selfish. And Nate and I are like that. I don't think about myself all day. I think about him and my kids. What are we doing? Where are we going? What can I buy them? What can I surprise them with? What can I plan for them that they're going to enjoy? I mean, that's why we don't go to very many plays and stuff, because that's stuff that I enjoy. Right. So I'm always planning, what do our kids like? What does Nate like? And then he thinks the same thing about me. If I say something like, oh man, look at this new watch, he knows that I would never buy it for myself.
Okay. Right.
He will, because his goal is to, he's always working to make me happy. Right. And I'm doing the same thing. And so it works.
Right.
And I think that was probably one of the easiest and simple advices of how to have a happy marriage.
Yeah, it's about helping each other and thinking about the other person. So Dion's always doing little things or stuff, like, trying to, he's like, oh, I just thought about you. And there's been times he comes home and he just has some flowers, super sweet. Because he knows I like to have fresh flowers in the house. And he knows I won't go buy them for myself, because in my mind, I'm going to buy these flowers. They're going to sit on the table for 3 weeks, and there went $12 down the freaking drain. Because he knows that's how I think. But instead, he goes, I'm going to buy her some flowers because she's going to look at them, and she's going to smile and be happy. Right.
And it's such a simple thing, right? Where it fills your love tank, to quote that I think it was Miss Piggy that said it on Real Housewives, but that it fills up our love tank of what is needed.
Right.
And that's how you keep people from straying and getting divorced and doing all that crazy shit.
And open communication. Yep. And you just talk about things. Like when Dion says, what's wrong? You're mad. So, okay, I'm going to have to tell you what happened the other day. This is a perfect example. So it was after the weekend. You guys were here. It was that Monday. I was so tired. So tired. And as you know me, if I am tired or hungry, you need to feed me and put me to bed, because otherwise I become a raging bitch.
Right.
Right? So it is Monday. We went hardcore all weekend. Go. So Monday, I'm so tired. I got a truck all the way out to Aldi, because I live in the little town of Podunk nowhere, and I got to drive 40 minutes to go to the grocery store. So I go to the grocery store. I come back. Everything's falling apart. There's a mess here. There's this. It's just a pain in the ass, and I'm stomping all the way around. He comes up from downstairs where he's working, and he's like, what's the matter? And I'm like, nothing. He's like, no, what the hell is the matter? And I'm like, I'm fucking hungry. This is what I scream at him. And he looks at me and goes, then why aren't you eating? I go, because I have this to do, and I got to do this, and I got to get this done, and da-da. And he's like, No, 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 no. He's like, you have got to fuel your tank before you can take care of anything. He's like, stop doing everything. Go fucking make yourself some lunch and then go take a nap. Literally, he made me go eat and put me to bed. That is exactly what he did.
Okay.
3-hour nap later, I was so much better, and I was like, yay, oh, like a schizophrenic. I think that's...
And are you guys able to just blow that off and keep going?
Yep, there's no problem.
Yeah, that's so good. That's the way Nate and I are too. Like, we don't hold on to an argument. We're able to get annoyed with one another. Like,
Yep.
at your house Friday night, we got into a little spat. That's why he slept on the couch like an
He slept
asshole.
on the couch?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know.
And that morning, I said, when you have a second, we're going to need to have a quick talk. And then we move on. And it was just that simple. Like, we never, when we were younger, we definitely held on to shit and fought like cats and dogs.
Oh, yeah.
But now that we've been together so long, and I think that we also know that it just doesn't fucking matter. Like, the things that we get upset about, we're able to essentially almost laugh at one another and be like, wait, let me understand. You're mad because, just like Dion said, so you're hungry?
Right.
Okay, well then eat and go to bed. Like, why? Don't try me. Just go to bed.
Right, he's like, why are you doing this? He's like, you're just not taking care of yourself. Let's take care of yourself and go on.
Right. And instead of arguing for 3 days or even holding on to it, like, we don't do that, which is great. Well, that's good. And I think, in the thing that makes me happy about this podcast and other podcasts is that if you look at people's lives, like, Nate and I have this perfect little family. It's a married couple with a good-looking son, a beautiful daughter, but she's got this quirky personality. On Facebook, it all looks picture perfect, right? And I think the way that I am is I really try, like, I post all the time about the stupid shit that goes on in this house, because that's real and transparent of the arguments we might get into, or like, and when I put, the funny thing is when I post it online, people will tell Nate, like, your wife's really funny. And he was like, no, she was really actually mad at me. That wasn't a joke. That really happened.
It really happened. I really wanted, yeah.
Right. And
I know.
But that's the way it should be, right? Because if I only posted the highlights of our life, that's not true. And that's the great thing about this podcast is we're able to say, like, we're dysfunctional. Like, you guys almost got into an argument because you were hungry.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
You really did.
Right. Like,
and then of course I started to cry afterwards, and then I was like, oh my God, baby, you're so right. I'm so sorry. Blah, blah, blah. And then I wake up and I'm all perky, and it's all like, hey, nothing happened.
Right. That's the great thing. And that's the way that it should be. Right. And I think that same mentality too could go into friendships. Like, why don't most people handle their friendships the same way? Like, I always tell my kids, it's absurd for them to think that daddy and mama are never going to fight. We are two separate people with two separate opinions, and we're going to disagree. And the same understanding should come from our friendships, that you and I might be friends, but we're going to disagree, and we can easily sit down and say, hey, I made you upset. What was it?
Right.
Talk
exactly.
about it and then move on without having to drag shit on, which we can both talk about again at another podcast of, the shit that we've been through, and also just having friendships as older adults now, right? Things have changed, and I wonder if some women aren't keeping up with the maturity of this is the way friendships should be. And it's okay for friendships to be this way. So I think
just because you argue doesn't mean the friendship is going to dissipate and disappear. Same way with the marriage. Just because you argue doesn't mean it's over.
Right. And I wonder if I would blame that on Facebook, right? Because it becomes such a major thing of, well, I'm just going to unfriend her. Like, so I have family members that I'm not friends with on Facebook because I don't feel like they were actually viewing our lives from a good point. That they were on Facebook. You could see, I knew that they were looking at everything, but they never once congratulated us on anything. They never liked anything. So your intentions aren't pure. That doesn't mean that we're not family. We just don't need to be friends on Facebook.
And some family doesn't need to be friends on Facebook because they don't need to see what you're doing, because some of it,
right, like that doesn't.
But you're not going to please everybody either, too.
Right, and whether you're friends on Facebook doesn't mean that you're not friends in real life, and you're not family in real life. Like, but I feel like that whole unfriend friend thing came from, like, it's such an automatic, like, oh, well, we're not agreeing anymore, so I'm unfriending you. That's not a real. When did we start that? That's just crazy.
Right. That's a whole nother podcast conversation.
It really is. It really is. So, well, I think we should wrap up here. I think we've done a great job for our first episode. We were both so nervous beforehand.
Oh my gosh, we were terrified. I know, at least I was terrified.
And you know what? I think we've been putting this off for so long because we were both so scared. I'm going to be honest, my armpits are still sweating. I'm still sweating. That's why I kept putting my...
I'm not the only one.
I kept putting my...
I need a reply of deodorant.
I keep putting my drink up here because my armpits are sweating. So I think we've done a great job. I hope to get lots of feedback from our listeners. Shout out and just, leave us some love, leave us some advice, because I'm not against feedback. I'm not against positive feedback. As long as you're coming from a good place. If not, go fuck yourself.
Pretty much.
Right? I mean, that's why we call this not a safe space. If you're easily offended, if you don't like girls with dirty fucking mouths or opinions, you're at the wrong place. Maybe we should have put that in the beginning.
We'll get there.
If you've made it these 2 hours, then you're probably our kind of person.
Yeah.
If you've come to this, right. If you've decided that we're too much for you, good. Go someplace else.
Because it's only gonna get more intense from here.
Right. All right, great. Well, I think that's it. So we do have an Instagram page that is Not a Safe Space Podcast. We will be getting a Facebook page soon, right?
Yep.
So far, that's our only social media. We'll be posting this on Apple Podcast, Google, and Spotify, I think. Is that right?
I think so.
Yeah.
But don't hold it to us.
Right. So, but we'll make it very easily accessible to you. We will find out our schedule. The goal is definitely to post one podcast a week, though, so that we're not leaving you hanging. If you have any ideas or topics you'd like us to discuss, please let us know. We hope to bring guests on. Like Tabby's husband is amazing, and he's got a great point of view, and he is wonderful at debating. And
oh my gosh, especially politics.
Yes, but
get that man on a soapbox.
But he'd be great to bring in. I asked my husband, and he told me no. He told me to go fuck myself because he doesn't like.
No, he didn't. Why did he do that?
Nate doesn't like to talk in public. He would freak the fuck out. And I said, well, what if it was just you and I? And he was like, I don't know. No. I'm gonna have to give him a blowjob while he's talking.
While he's talking? Can we videotape that and put that on the show? That would be awesome.
Where's Sabrina, Nate?
Viewers would pay to watch you give him a blowjob while he's talking on Not a Safe Space.
Right, we'll do that without the Skype. But we hope to have some guests. We also would love, obviously to talk about a little bit more about what we do on our outside life or in our daily lives. Like, by the way, Tabby is a published author, so I would like to dig into that and talk about your book and you publishing 2 more books. And should be some beauty talks because you are a skin professional.
Yep.
And I have lots of questions for you because now that I'm 39 years old, I've decided that, hey, maybe we should take care of this face.
Right. And, gotta prep the work. It's 20% genetics, 80% self-care.
And I've only recently learned that. And so there's so much I think that people can learn from you, and we need your advice, and have our callers or listeners ask questions that you can answer for us. So we have lots of great things coming. So thank you guys for listening, and I guess I'll talk to you later, girl.
All right, sounds good. Talk to you soon.